Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see on F1 2020, as always here today, and we are back with some online lobbies. This is actually a 50% round Bahrain short against a pretty stacked lobby. In fact, there's a lot of very, very good people. A lot of people I race with in league racing on the regular, and I have no idea what position I'm going to be in. Don't think it was on custom grid. I'm pretty sure it was on random. So we're just jumping into this 50% because obviously the track is significantly shorter than the longer version or the normal version. Hence why it's called Bahrain Short. Otherwise it wouldn't be. So we're just going to have some fun with this. And I want to say thank you so much for the support I've been getting on my channel recently. It's been absolutely insane. And as always, I hope you enjoy this one. And I also hope you learned something. So we are starting here with the preset setup. So everyone is going to be using the same setup. I always advise choosing preset 4 because that is the best preset by far. And it is full wet. And we are also starting in last place on the grid. So this is going to be interesting. We have enough time to try and get through the field. And on this game, wet weather hasn't really come up too often. But I feel it's one of my biggest strengths because of the smoothness of my driving style, and I feel when the tyres are worn and it's wet, that's when I really sometimes come out my strongest. So we're starting last. We've got McCabe Sam lefted in front of us, two very, very fast people, Florian as well. As we get underway, we get a pretty good launch off the line here, and excuse the audio because that is just an Xbox glitch when you're really close to cars, but it's absolute chaos going down into turn 1. We've made up 6 positions, now 7 positions going through the first 2 turns, and then going up into here we've made up 8 positions. I thought we did, but my teammate goes around the outside of me. The Red Bull is scurrying out wide, and then left has just darted himself in there. We're trying to go between 2 cars, so we were making up 8, now it's 6, and coming off the exit here, it's almost going to be 3 wide. Is it going to be 3 wide? Yes, it is going to be 3 wide. So I'm trying to push this racing point. I back off at the last bit. Then he takes up the Alpha and then the Renault as well. We've made up 10 positions on the first lap, having a huge snap of oversteer. And that was a very, very busy lap 1. But myself and Lefted have gone through the field very, very nicely here. It's Ollie Boy. It's the Red Bull, or I'm not sure who that was, has gone off the track. The red light is flashing, which I can confirm that always flashes in the rain, just so you can see the other cars. It's not because he's low on ERS or anything at all. That's because it's always flashing. So we're not able to tell when they are low on the ERS, in fact, which is actually going to make it even more challenging here. So going through this right-hander, really like this layout actually. I really enjoy it as Lefton has a big snap of oversteer. So we're going to take advantage of this, but it's going to be a drag race. Towards the end of the hang straight, we're presumably using the same setup as well. So I'm trying to go around the outside, pushes me wide ever so slightly, and he still claims the corner. So I'm going to use the overtake button, trying to use it down into chicane, but it's going to be very awkward to try and overtake him here. So he goes in deep. We decide to go for the switchback here. I put my nose on the inside. We make contact going into the last call. He goes off the track, comes back on it, loses the momentum, and we are going to use that to get ahead. And in these conditions you're going to have to be that little bit ultra aggressive. He's still trying to get the move back in on me, but we managed to just about keep it, and now we've made up 12 positions in the first 3 laps, trying to go to the inside as Williams again, having to get your elbows out in these conditions if you want to make up places, because there is no DRS. Slipstream is not very powerful in this game, and everyone's going to be running the same setup as well. So we made up 13 positions now. And as I said, I think my driving style in this game is something in dry quali. In qualifying over a lap, I find it really... to put it in a nutshell, qualifying is just not my forte. Pushing 100% and keeping it together is not something I'm best at. I think what I'm best at is really looking after the tyres, the race pace, and just the consistency. And that's exactly what you need in these conditions here. Something's happened to Lefted. McCabe Sam is not too far behind, so we're going to take our time getting past this round as much as I can. You can see some people have already got some time penalties as we're almost losing the car here. So he goes in deep, we go for the switchback, and you'll just be able to see with the pure traction, look how much traction we have if you just get the right line you're going to absolutely rocket ship down the straight. So leaving some room on the outside just in case he decides to try it. This default setup is much more under-serious. 2 cars have come together, which has given us another 2 positions. So we're up into P4 now. And now we will be able to see what our raw pace really is like at this stage of the race. So this is going to be our first clear lap that we could do. Already setting a purple last sector as a result of that. So now going on this first lap, the tyres should last to the end of this race pretty comfortably as we go purple in the first sector. Little bit of a lock up, but you can see really having to fight the car as much as possible. This is not easy to drive in these conditions around here, and I think rain is lasting for the entire race as well. So using this overtake button, it's much easier to save your ERS in wet conditions because you're just spending so much more time on the brakes than you would be in the dry. You're just going much slower here. So braking nice and early for this corner, just trying to kiss this apex and this one as well, doing quite a nice job of it as Scaffer or Nick. 52.3, we do a 52.2, so it's not actually that much faster. So we do have a race on our hands here, but I think we're going to show quite a lot of raw footage as we're coming up to the back of Anti-Chicken, if I can see that correctly. A lot of people have some very cool gamer tags here, but coming through here, just trying to get past him as quick as I possibly can because we did start last this race and I was really trying to see if I could come out on top on the track. So we're going to purple middle sector, got a yellow flag going up ahead of us. Someone's parked it on the inside, but that wasn't for position here, so got to take our time, try and go for another switchback once again. So going to chicane, just trying to stop the car. He goes in a little bit deeper, so we just try and adjust our line just so we get a good exit coming off this last corner, which we do. We're not going to go for the overtake in tail 1, it's just far too short as we check our tyre wear. Going to this corner, this is now where the dirty air is definitely going to play a factor. It's going to be a bit harder to get on the throttle. The car's going to be a little bit more lazy than it would be as he makes a bit of a mistake here. So we're not going to go down the inside here. So again, just trying to get as good run as I possibly can off this corner with the dirty air. It's going to be very hard, but we do have the slipstream. Although not powerful, we are close enough to get the benefit from it. So we're going to go down the inside. He pushes a little bit onto the grass. We make a very committed move. He tries to go around the outside, but we just use the racing line, just pushing him out wide side, just using it to our advantage. And now we're into P3 with the front two 5.4 and 4.5 seconds ahead. So now we're going to stay on board here, and this is where I feel sometimes like my driving style is not aggressive enough in the dry, but when the tyres go off where you need to be smooth, it's not about the aggressive movements anymore, and that really applies to the wet. This is where I feel it really does make a big difference on this game, because I think a lot of people are very aggressive, very quick overlap in dry conditions because they're super aggressive, but that's why they really suffer in the race sometimes. When the tyres are going off, you just need to slow down your movements, and in the wet conditions as well, being too aggressive, especially when your tyres are wearing, is not a good thing to do. So coming through here, it's been a good lap so far, and you can see we've gained a lot of time, a second on the leader, about 7/10 on P2. Coming across the line, it's a 51.8 here, so we are really showing some very strong pace. As we move on to the end of lap 9 here, what's it going to be? It's going to be a 51.5 now, and you can see that gap is coming down very quickly as we now join the back of these two guys here, and now the tyres are starting to go off very slowly. So we're about to get within the 1 second, or we do get within 1 second of Nick, who I've raced with quite a few times. He's a very good driver. He's racing in quite a few leagues. I think he raced in TSRL last season as well. Coming through into here, it's going to be very difficult to get past these two guys. Obviously there's going to be no DRS to play with, and you can see the gap behind the Florian is over 10 seconds, so we have zero threat from behind. And at the moment, the last to first is a real possibility, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to win on track because we're coming through lapping cars as Nick has gone in very, very deep. So I'm going to try and do the same thing as I did to Lefted, but we're not even alongside, so there's going to be no option to do that move here. So we have to bide our time a little bit more. Going through it, you can see the effect of the dirty air just having that little bit more understeer, which is going to wash away the car. And a lot of people say as well that when I'm behind someone, I'm using completely different lines to them, and quite often that's really to just avoid the dirty air and just to get out the line of the dirty air, because if I'm directly behind in that dirty air, I'm not going to get as good traction, I'm going to get understeer. So I just always try and get a better exit, making sure I have as much grip as I possibly can here. And you can see we're quite close going into chicane, but not going to be close enough. And keep an eye on that gap behind. So Lefted is about 15 or so seconds here at this point. We'll keep an eye on that towards the end of this race. But now I'm just trying to pressure Nick as much as I possibly can. But you can see, despite having the pace advantage in these conditions without the DRS, it's going to be very, very hard to overtake. And you can see this is what I mean, just locking up now. So the longer I leave it, the harder it is going to be. But the only thing you can do in these conditions is to just put your opponent under as much pressure as possible. That's the only thing you can do, and that's something that works extremely well. When you're in a DRS train, that's the only thing you can do, is just pushing them into a mistake. Hope you get close enough, and then you can actually benefit from it. So you can see coming through into here now, losing a bit of time. Well, I know we still gaining a bit of time on the guys behind, but you can see just very, very hard to get on that traction when you are directly behind someone. Checking the tyres, so they're not too bad, but they are going to be pretty worn towards the end of this race. So now I really wanted to get a move on. I wanted to get this track position, and we're doing exactly the same thing again. Just trying a little bit too hard. And then wet conditions in this game, if you just try too hard, it's definitely going to punish you. So taking that tight line, really enjoy taking that tight line. Gives me some very good traction, and again, just puts me out of sight of that dirty air line. I just try and avoid it at all costs. You can see again going wide here, then going for the cutback, trying to get a better exit. Not quite working on this occasion. You can see we're still putting away from the guys behind. Left, it is closing in ever so slightly, so I wanted to try and get past these guys as much as possible and see how much of a gap I could pull, if I could pull any gap whatsoever. But you can see here now it's going to be really, really hard as Nick, that's one of his first mistakes. He's gone out a little bit wide there, so I could tell he was struggling with that corner. On this occasion, we get this corner very, very nice. You can see going tight, not directly behind, and we're going to do the same here again. So he's going to go in a little bit deeper, and we'll take that really, really tight line. You can see we definitely get a better exit, a much better exit on this occasion, trying to get in the slipstream, but he does have an element of slipstream to the car ahead, and we were gaining, but it's just not quite going to be close enough. So trying to get on the traction just a little bit earlier, not going to be close enough going into this last corner. So we're just again go out wide, go for that cutback, and just was thinking about going down the inside here, but we are not going to be close enough. And now into here, just trying to apply as much pressure as I possibly can, and going for his turn one, he does the same thing, but he did it even worse this time than the last lap. That was definitely a corner that he was struggling a little bit with. I think with the dirty air, the closer you get, the more effect it has. And now we're right on the back of the Alfa Romeo, and we want to get past him as soon as possible. So again, taking that tight line. If you run out wide there, you do not get the grip as you do on the inside, and this should be quite a simple move. And we have gone from P20 to P1 on track this race, and this is a lobby that I really, really enjoyed here. Some people have pitted who are end up going to be faster than us towards the end of the race, but we're just going to stay on board for our first lap and clear just to see how much we pull away. And you can see already we are out of the second window as our tyres are going to get progressively worse, so we're not going to improve on our fastest lap at this point. But you can just see, look at the gap that we are putting. The gap is growing so quick. It actually went purple in this first sector, despite what I was saying here. Going through into this corner, doing it very, very nicely. You can see it completely drifting through here, so that's just how much grip it could take. Getting our second warning of the race here. And you could just see the gap that we have pulled. It's a huge gap that we have pulled. I think one of them has made a mistake from behind, but the pace advantage that we have in these conditions, this is really the territory that I really do enjoy. As we almost got a penalty there. Going into chicane, city gap is about 2.1 or I think 2.2 seconds behind. Getting on the throttle very nicely and going across the line. What is this going to be? It's not going to be an improvement, but it is back into the 51s and confirming that we do have some very good pace around here. But as we skip towards the end of the race, you can see that gap has grown massively to up to 7 seconds, and the gap to Lefted is about 18 seconds. So we've gained about 3 seconds on him and another 3 or 4 seconds on the guys behind. We were driving in such a good zone now, as the guy ahead of me has actually pitted. He's a lap car. He's actually going quicker than me. You can see we don't have the fastest lap anymore, but I feel on this game my biggest strength is definitely managing my tyres, and it's really put me in the mindset that I really should go for undercuts more often, because I really do look after my tyres very well, and that was a race I really enjoyed. So I hope you enjoyed that. Going from last to first in this lobby was a lot of fun. Again, thank you so much for the support on my channel, from the videos, for the streams. It really does mean everything to me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.